You thought they were disappearing from your life, but the truth is much darker. They were disappearing from everyone, just so they would not completely lose themselves. And that friend who goes quiet for weeks or months then suddenly comes back acting like no time has passed. They are not cold. They are not careless. They are not punishing you. They are just trying to survive a mind that demands everything from them, including the energy to love you. This is the hidden pain almost nobody talks about. And if you have ever been that friend or loved that friend, keep watching, because what you are about to hear might finally explain everything. There is a particular kind of friendship that confuses people from the outside. You do not talk every day. You do not update each other constantly. There are no long streaks of good morning texts, no scheduled emotional check-ins, no endless proof that the bond is still alive. Then 3 months pass, maybe 4, maybe longer than either of you want to admit. And then one day you see each other again, maybe in a coffee shop, maybe in someone's kitchen, maybe walking down a street at night, both of you pretending the silence was not as long as it was. At first, there is a small awkwardness, a tiny pause, the kind that says, we both know we have been gone. Then someone mentions an old joke, and suddenly the distance collapses. You laugh the same way, you interrupt each other the same way, you remember the same tiny details. And for a moment, it feels impossible that months passed at all. This is the strange magic of low-pressure friendship. It does not always look active from the outside, but underneath the quiet, something is still there, an invisible thread, not loud, not constant, but somehow not broken. The problem is that modern friendship has become very easy to measure in the wrong way. How fast did they reply? How often do they check in? Did they like your post? Did they watch your story? Did they answer the message the same day? And because everything is visible now, silence starts to look like evidence. A slow reply becomes distance. A missed call becomes rejection. A month without contact becomes a story your brain writes in the dark. They do not care anymore. They moved on. I guess I mattered less than I thought. And sometimes that story is true. Sometimes people really do drift away. Sometimes silence does mean avoidance, immaturity, or emotional neglect. But not always, because there is another kind of person. The person whose love is real but whose capacity is inconsistent. The person who can sit with you for hours and make you feel deeply understood, then go home and not answer anyone for days. The person who remembers your birthday, your favorite drink, the name of the person who hurt you 5 years ago, but still takes 2 weeks to reply to a simple text. From the outside, it looks contradictory. From the inside, it feels exhausting. Because for them, friendship is not the problem. The pressure to perform friendship is. A low-pressure friendship is not a friendship where nobody cares. It is not an excuse to disappear without consideration. It is not a free pass to hurt people and call it introversion. A low-pressure friendship is different. It is the kind of bond where love does not have to prove itself every 24 hours, where silence is not immediately treated like betrayal. Where someone can say, I have been overwhelmed, and not be dragged into an emotional courtroom, where the relationship is allowed to breathe. For some people, this kind of friendship is not a preference. It is the only kind of friendship that does not make them want to run away, because the moment a relationship starts to feel like a constant test, they begin to shut down, not because the person matters less, but because the pressure becomes louder than the affection. They start thinking about what they should say, how late the reply is, whether the other person is upset, how much explanation they owe, whether they have enough energy to be warm enough, funny enough, present enough, and suddenly one message becomes a whole emotional task, so they wait until they feel ready. Then they feel guilty for waiting. Then the guilt makes the message heavier. Then the heaviness makes them avoid it more. And now a friendship they genuinely value begins to feel like something they are failing at. People talk about a social battery like it is a cute internet phrase, but for many people it is not cute. It is the difference between feeling like themselves and feeling like they are slowly disappearing behind a version of themselves they created for other people. You might see them at dinner laughing. You might see them at work answering questions. You might see them at a party, smiling, listening, being kind, saying the right things at the right moments. And because they seem fine, everyone assumes they are fine. But when they get home, something drops, their face changes, their body gets heavy, their phone feels too bright. Every notification feels like a hand reaching through the screen. They do not hate people, they just cannot keep receiving input. Voices, needs, emotions, plans, expectations. Even affection can feel like stimulation when your nervous system is already full. And this is the part that is hard to explain without sounding rude. Sometimes even a message from someone you love can feel like too much, not because the person is too much, but because you are already carrying too much. So you put the phone down just for an hour, then the hour becomes a day, then the day becomes a week, and now the message is no longer just a message. It is a reminder that you have failed to be the kind of friend you wanted to be. To some people, replying is simple. You see the message, you type back, done. But for low social energy people, texting can feel like reopening the entire social world, because a reply is rarely just a reply. It can become a conversation can become a plan can become an obligation can become another place where you have to show up with energy you do not currently have. So instead of answering, you freeze. You tell yourself, I will reply when I can do it properly, because you do not want to send something cold. You do not want to seem uninterested. You do not want to start a conversation and then disappear again halfway through it. So you wait for the perfect moment, a moment when you feel rested, clear, emotionally available, human, but the perfect moment keeps moving. And the longer you wait, the more impossible the reply feels. Now you cannot just say, "Hey, how are you?" Now you feel like you need to explain the silence, apologize for the delay, prove that you still care. Make the other person believe you were not ignoring them. And sometimes the shame becomes so loud that avoidance feels easier than repair. That is the cruel loop. They disappear because they are overwhelmed. Then they become overwhelmed because they disappeared. People who need low-pressure friendships often carry a quiet shame. They look at other people and wonder how it seems so easy for them. How do they keep up with everyone? How do they respond every day? How do they maintain group chats, weekend plans, birthdays, voice notes, calls, and still have enough left inside to function? Why does everyone else seem able to be reachable? Why does love feel so simple for them? And this shame can make a person feel defective, like they are missing some basic social muscle, like they were born without the part that makes friendship easy to maintain. But often they are not lacking love, they are lacking capacity. Those are not the same thing. Love is the feeling. Capacity is the amount of access you have to yourself while expressing that feeling. And some people have enormous love with very limited access. They care, but they cannot always perform care on schedule. They miss you, but they cannot always convert missing you into a message. They think of you, but the thought stays private, quiet, unexpressed. And from the outside, unexpressed love can look like no love at all. That is where so much pain begins. A person like this does not need a friendship with no responsibility. They need a friendship with less fear. They need someone who does not turn every silence into a final verdict. Someone who can say, "No pressure to reply fast. I just wanted you to know I am thinking of you." That sentence can feel like oxygen because it removes the performance. It says you are allowed to receive love without immediately producing a response. They need someone who understands that reconnection does not always require punishment first. Someone who does not make them pay a guilt tax before they are allowed to come back. Someone who can hold the bond gently enough that it does not become another source of panic. And if you have ever had a friend like that, you know how rare it feels. The person who lets you return without making you crawl. The person who says, "I missed you," instead of "Where have you been?" The person who knows your silence is not always a weapon. Sometimes it is a shelter. Sometimes it is recovery. Sometimes it is the only way you can come back as yourself instead of as a performance of yourself. But this is where we have to be honest. Low-pressure friendship can be beautiful, but it can also become an excuse if you are not careful. Because needing space does not mean other people stop having feelings. Being overwhelmed does not erase the impact of disappearing. And introversion does not give anyone permission to repeatedly hurt people without repair. This matters. Because there is a difference between needing room and creating emotional uncertainty. There is a difference between being quiet and being careless. There is a difference between saying, "I disappear sometimes, but I care about you," and expecting someone to tolerate endless absence without any reassurance. Low pressure does not mean no effort. It means flexible effort. It means finding small ways to say, "I am still here," even when you do not have the energy for a full conversation. A heart emoji. Voice note that says, "I am overwhelmed, but I love you." A message that says, "I cannot talk properly right now, but I did not forget you." Small signals matter, because people cannot always feel the love you never express. And the people who wait for you deserve some tenderness too, not pressure, not punishment, tenderness. The goal is not to become constantly available. The goal is to become gently honest. If you love someone like this, the hardest part is not taking every silence personally. That does not mean pretending you are never hurt. It means learning to ask a different question. Instead of immediately asking, "Why do they not care?" you might ask, "Are they overwhelmed?" Instead of assuming they are leaving me, you might wonder, "Are they trying not to lose themselves?" And then you can communicate without turning the friendship into a trial. You can say, "I miss you, but no pressure to reply instantly. I am here when you have capacity. I do not need a perfect explanation. I just want to know you are okay. You matter to me, even when you go quiet." Those words can reach a person in a place where guilt has made them unreachable. They can make return feel possible. But you are allowed to have needs too. You are allowed to say, "I understand you need space, but I also need small signs that we are okay." That is not pressure. That is honesty. The healthiest low-pressure friendships are not built on silence alone. They are built on trust. The quiet friend trusts they will not be punished for needing space. The waiting friend trusts they will not be forgotten inside that space. Both people matter. That is what makes the bond safe. Maybe you are watching this because you are the friend who disappears. Maybe you have lost people because you did not know how to explain your silence. Maybe you have been called distant, flaky, cold, inconsistent, or selfish. And maybe some of that criticism hurt because a part of you wondered if it was true. But the truth is more complicated than a label. You may need to learn how to communicate better. You may need to repair more often. You may need to stop assuming people will automatically understand a silence you never explained. But needing space does not make your love fake. Needing quiet does not make your loyalty weak. And disappearing for a while does not mean you were never attached. Some people love like a firework, bright, visible, impossible to miss. And some people love like a lamp left on in a distant room, quiet, steady, easy to overlook until the night gets dark. Your love may not always arrive as fast replies. It may not always look like constant presence. It may not always fit the rhythm other people expect. But when it is real, it has a way of returning, again and again, to the same people, the same warmth, the same invisible thread. So maybe the friend who disappears for months is not always leaving. Maybe they're trying to come back with enough of themselves left to love you honestly. And maybe the deepest friendships are not the ones that demand constant proof. Maybe they are the ones where two people can sit across from each other after a long silence, smile at the same old joke, and feel the thread pull tight again. If this made you think of someone, send it to them, not as an accusation, as a small light left on.